Maybe you are about to buy mobile robots and you figured out there are two types. There are AGVs and AMRs. And you're now unsure which one will survive in the long term. This is why we're going to dedicate this episode to discuss this very question and help you out with your decision.
Automation Awakenings, your weekly dose of best practices for logistics automation.
Welcome to the next episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. And as always, I would like to welcome Matthias here with me in our studio. And I would like to welcome you to a pretty old question. Since the introduction of autonomous mobile robots, we are, hearing the question from our customers, what should I buy? What do I have to consider? And as you know, we have already some episodes spent on that topic. But today we would like to focus on the future. Which of these technologies are here to stay? Both of them. We will have AGVs or AMRs also for the next 10 years. Or is there a technology which will stay longer? What is the forecast? So Matthias, welcome to the show. Welcome to this question. What is your first thought when you're thinking about these two technologies and their future?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Ollie. Welcome to you guys out there. Very interesting question and a very philosophical one as well. So I think there is no right and no wrong answer here. It's more about gut feelings and maybe also visions. And the topic of vision is the one that comes to my mind first, if you ask. Because I believe if you want to answer this question, you need to draw the vision of the future manufacturing building or warehouse where you will use those devices. So let's try to paint this vision first and then discuss on what will survive.
Yes, I mean, when you are painting visions, of course, you can do this completely without any frame conditions, or you already think about some. And when I'm thinking about these two technologies, I mean, why are you choosing today an AMR or an AGV? And the first question, of course, is how is your process today?
Right.
And will the processes stay as they are tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I think this will influence a lot the decision. And the second question is, how much money do I have or can I spend so the business case is kept? I think this is another aspect of this question, because even if an AMR is working better for my process, maybe I cannot calculate a positive business case and I have to switch to an AGV with some limitations and I have to adapt my process and so on. These are my first thoughts. So now somehow we need to answer this, but transfer ourselves into 2 years into the future.
Yeah, totally. And maybe just a little hint for our listeners, if you are not familiar with the difference between AGVs, so automated guided vehicles, and AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, go to our Spotify playlist or YouTube playlist, or wherever you listen to the podcast, and tune into episode number 7. This is exactly where we discuss the differences between those two devices, which will help you to understand the details of this discussion. But coming back to your question, Ollie, let's try to think about those processes. And I think one big trend and also a big vision in many organizations that we consult is actually going towards a dark warehouse, a dark manufacturing, a dark goods receipt, whatever. So you are trying to basically basically completely automate everything and cut out humans in those operations so that you can, in the end, switch off the lights because there is no visual need anymore.
So there are no obstacles anymore.
Exactly, and that's the big question. So from what I see at many customers, the reason why they buy an AMR is that there is exceptions in the process or there's deviations from a norm. And these exceptions or deviations, they manifest themselves as pallets that are standing at places where they shouldn't stand. This is humans walking on shop floors where they shouldn't walk. This is mixed traffic, so forklifts or milk runs running in the same aisles as the mobile robots, which of course is creating a very, very challenging environment for mobile robots to operate in. And with the AMR, we get the chance to basically overcome this challenge since this device is smart enough to go around obstacles, define routes, and drives itself. Sorry, and the big question is, will we get rid of all of these exceptions once we switch off the light? I would say the probability is very high because if you automate everything, or before automating everything, let's put it that way, you will have to define processes in a way that exceptions are kept to a very, very minimum, maybe almost even disappearing. And that's why I believe that process maturity will increase a lot when we move towards this dark warehouse, dark site vision in the future.
You know, Matthias, now I think what's the main obstacle for an AMR to go around? And I think it's the visitor group which came there to see the AMR moving.
Yeah.
You know, and they sometimes like really try to
True.
step into its way and check if it is really going around. So where will the visitor group be in your dark warehouse?
Yeah, they're gonna walk the facility with headlamps on their on their
Cool.
head, inspecting the layout and wondering about all of the automation technologies that are there. Now, just joking. I believe that you are right. I believe that AMR functions are more like a backup for exceptions that actually arise quite rarely, I would say. But maybe that's also different from industry to industry and also customer to customer. So I don't know. What is your take?
Yeah, I think in a highly standardized environment where we at some point of time will for sure switch the lights off, and I think this is will be soon. Everything after the trucks unloading, the warehousing, storage, and picking until the production replenishment, until the handover point. Let's say like that. Maybe even including the handover point, it can be all dark.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I see a good chance that we will still need AMRs. If we have another trend coming into place there, flexible production lines, adapting to the customer demands automatically. Then we need devices which can really easily change their route, their destinations, on a regular basis, actually. And AGVs would struggle with that. Or you need a very, a proper layout and installation phase to cover all these different versions or possibilities which might occur. For AMR, you would be more flexible, I guess. If you change the whole production line, imagine suddenly the finished goods come out from a completely different route or at a completely different position. With an AMR, you could just define like a area where it might happen, and it can find the pellet itself, for example.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I'm just actually trying to imagine on how that would look like in the future. And the big question is on how flexible and adaptable the individual machining cells in the production line will be. So, will the position of the machining center stay the same, and the machining center will simply, be able to like basically go towards batch size 1 and like change the tools or change the production process that is required, or whether we still will see that many like physical changes in the production line on the shop floor as we do today. If you ask myself, I think that those machining cells will move also more towards highly sophisticated flexibility. And in my scenario, that would mean that the sources and the destinations for the mobile robots would pretty much stay the same in most of the cases. The difference would simply be the good that they transport to this machining cell based on the production schedule for this machining cell. So,
But that would mean that we can use all AGVs also there.
exactly. Maybe you're already hearing that. You're hearing this, shining through what I'm saying. But if you ask me, I think that with the advent of automation that is all over the place in a facility, and the drastic reduction of exceptions and deviations in processes, I think that we'll be able to serve most of the processes, like 95% of them, with AGVs, because there won't be too many changes to either the layout nor to the way or the route that the mobile robots will take to reach their sources or destinations. Plus, keep in mind that many AMRs are using VSLAM, video slam, right? To like do all of these sophisticated decisions and find sources or destinations. Of course, if you switch off the light, I'm not sure if this navigation tech will work anymore.
Rather not.
I mean, the dark warehouse is also a bit of like a true north, right? I mean, it's maybe about reducing the human workforce in those places. So it's not about really switching off the lights. I mean, you could still keep them on with no people being on the shop floor.
Yeah.
But if we really think towards this vision of really a dark facility, then VSLAM might struggle to really be the right navigation and localization technology for mobile robots. And at the same time, cameras are a big reason why AMRs are as smart as they are today, right?
You know what I really like about this discussion? That we start with the question which technology will stay, but we end up in very basic questions of the future of logistics.
Yeah.
We are talking about an ideal world, the perfect logistics world, with lot size 1, fully customizable production lines, a perfect customer demand, or at least 100% adaptability to a fluctuating customer demand, either or.
Yeah.
We are talking about trucks which come punctual to bring material, to pick material. And I think we both know that this perfect world will never be there in reality.
True.
Yeah, and this is what I really like, that we touch now these kind of topics, um, to think about which technology will stay.
Yeah.
And these disruptions, I mean, disruptions are part of logistics.
That's
I-
why there is
yeah,
logistics experts out there. Otherwise,
exactly.
everyone could do it, and probably some smart computer would already have taken over. But I think it's exactly about this adaptability towards unpredictable change, which makes the difference between different logistics organizations, right? That's like the top KPI, I would say. Like, how adaptable, how flexible can you react to unforeseen changes, and also how resilient are you as an organization to tackle these events. So yeah, it's down to basic logistics questions. I totally agree to this, and we are basically just zooming into one very small like part of the whole supply chain, so to say, which is dealing with on-site operations in a warehouse or in a production site.
Yeah, and it combines also many episodes we actually already conducted, like thinking about the whole supply chain to automate your facility. I'm thinking about standardization of packaging.
Yeah.
How do your pallets arrive from your customers or your suppliers? Are they standardized? How do they look like? Can you handle them? So we need to zoom out again, especially now, thinking about the future. Will we arrive at such a supply chain thinking over several steps in the supply chain, from sub supplier until the customer? Because only then we can arrive at the dark warehouse, fully standardized processes, and then a lot of AGVs probably. Yeah, because we know what will happen. We have fixed routes, no obstacles to avoid. Yes, um, the question is if this is really true. So it's getting even more philosophical now.
Yeah. But let us just take a look at one of the best logistics organizations that are out there. Let's take a look at Amazon, okay? I mean, they earn their money with logistics, basically. That's their key USP, I would say, right?
And Prime Day.
And Prime Day, of course. How do they do it? I mean, yes, there's this YouTube videos out there where there's shelves sitting on these little AGVs that are driving from QR code to QR code, locating themselves, and then bringing the shelf to a picking station where a human is picking out of the shelf. And I think what is really smart and what they did is they basically isolated certain areas of the operations where where they have the control over the quality and the level of exceptions that they have, And I think this is also something we could do in a classic production line. I agree that in the goods receipt and in the shipping area, there's going to be exceptions for sure, because trucks may arrive too late, trucks might run over bumpy roads, so everything is a mess inside. The supplier might send the wrong packaging, and so on. So you're going to have like a task force sitting there, probably even a human task force, sorting out and straightening out all of these problems. But I think then once you are inside your own facility in terms of flows, I think this is something that you have in your own hand to control. Except, I don't know, your roof is leaking and there's water coming into the production hall. But that's a totally different aspect. But I believe that as long as you can basically isolate certain process areas from external impact, it's your homework to set up processes and set up flows and maybe also automation tech in a way that it interplays and that you are able to cut out exceptions and run it in a dark mode.
So to add an answer to our question, in your own home zone where you do your homework, we only will have AGVs.
Yes.
So that's a good finding
Yeah.
already. And I think we already have a second finding, and I can only completely confirm also from my point of view what you said. The in and outbound areas will require a lot of deviation handling,
Yeah.
flexibility, and AMRs at the end. If we can load or unload a truck someday
Yeah.
in a proper way, in a fast way, it will be an AMR. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, totally. Totally agree. So
Good findings already.
good findings, and the answer is that probably both technologies will survive to a certain extent. I would bet that the share of AGVs will become bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But I still also see the point of having AMRs in some of those exception or deviation prone areas. And that's why, guys, there's no black and white, as always. So you first need to identify the areas of your operations that is your home turf, basically, that you can isolate from external impacts. And then you have to do your homework in terms of ensuring that your processes are mature, ensuring that your processes have the right information flow that is sitting behind the physical movements. And this is also where you can then start to cut out people or to reduce people or to simply hand over operations to robots and move a step closer to the dark facility vision.
Yeah, so this was our contribution to the 50 Shades of Logistics Automation future. And of course, as always, we are interested in your view, in your further shades. So please add them in the comments. And we are looking forward to that. What is your view on that topic? And we are looking forward to the next week's episode, right, Matthias?
Correct. So guys, next Monday, tune in and collect some of the hopefully great content we are providing to make sure that you guys can awake the future of logistics wherever you are.
See you.
Automation Awakenings, your weekly dose of best practices for logistics automation.